Hi guys, and welcome to our very first episode of Coffee and ABA, where we're going to talk about all things applied behavioral analysis over a really nice cup of coffee. So a little bit about this before we kind of dive into the world of ABA. Coffee and ABA was started by three friends, Caitlin, Priscilla, and myself, and we would sit down at a local coffee shop about once a week for a couple hours and just talk about applied behavioral analysis. We looked at everything from programming to research that we were doing to different goals, barriers that we were facing, challenges, things that we were kind of learning to overcome as we made ourselves better behavior analysts in the field. And so I'm really excited to kind of bring this to the public now and share that knowledge. My goal is to bring in other specialists in the field, from registered behavior therapists, RBTs, and their experience running programming directly with kiddos, to student analysts, those who are starting their wonderful school journey, BCABAs, so like myself, a board certified assistant behavior analyst, BCBAs and BCBADs, so board certified behavior analysts, and those with their PhD, which is fantastic. And maybe we might even bring in some speech, OT, and PT down the road. And I'd also love to hear from some parents and their experience with the ABA. So a little bit about me before we go ahead and jump into the history of the ABA today. I am a BCABA. My name is KT Gillings. I work for Positive Behavior Supports here in East Texas. I have an extensive background in the field. In 2010, I started in therapeutic horseback riding, where I met my very first BCBA. And it just kind of clicked. Like, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with individuals who are so unique and can help us see the world in different perspectives, but at the same time teach them skills and different ways to navigate their own environments. From there, I went to Humboldt State University, which is now Cal Poly Humboldt, and did my bachelor's in child development with a specialty in family studies and American Sign Language. I sat for my very first RBT test in 2016. It was forever ago. I worked in home, and then I transferred to a clinical setting. I also taught American Sign Language at Humboldt State and Cal State Monterey Bay. From there, I went into some early intervention work, working with some younger kiddos under the age of 5. And then I transferred out here to East Texas. I worked for a clinic, got some great experience. I'm very hands-on, working a lot with a bunch of unique kiddos, and learning how to work with different analysts too. From there, I went into the school districts, where I was a behavior specialist for 3 years. That was a great experience to kind of learn how the schools work with these really unique kiddos, with all sorts of disabilities, not just autism. And now I'm here with Positive Behavior Supports. I am a full-time analyst, and I get to support these awesome families that we work with and train the staff on different programming and get to do research and collaborate with some fantastic individuals. And I'm so excited about that. So, you ready? We're going to jump in with some history of ABA. So, applied behavioral analysis, or ABA, is a therapeutic approach that aims to improve the lives of individuals. We do so many different things. We choose strategies that have been proven through effective in research, and we apply them to daily situations with our clients. We maintain their integrity, and we continually analyze the results. I'm constantly looking at data all day, every day, ins and outs and all the things. We make changes based on the data, and revisions should always be made to individualize the plans more towards what the kiddos need, what our clients need, what their goals are, where they're at. Sometimes we write a program and we go, oh man, this is going to be great for this kiddo that I did an assessment on, and I met them for maybe 4 hours in the beginning. And then we get there and we're like, we need some prerequisite skills, or maybe what we programmed for, they're way more advanced. And that's super exciting. And then we revise everything. Some really interesting history about ABA. It emerged from the principles of behaviorism in like the early 20th century or so, with significant development in the 1960s. We have Skinner and Lobos, who shaped some of the basic foundations, principles, and applications of ABA, particularly in autism. Now, ABA is not just limited to autism. We have some great applications in organizational behavior management, which is great for some bigger companies when you're working on employee productivity and different things like that. Schools can always use ABA, clinics. There's just so many different applications and research and everything like that too. Initially, ABA kind of focused on using operant conditioning, which was kind of, we love Skinner's operant conditioning with teaching pigeons to peck buttons and things like that. Did you know that there was really cool research done with pigeons flying missiles? I think it was called Project Pigeon. Definitely look it up. Those operant conditioning principles were used to improve behavior, but it's evolved so much more beyond that. We focus so much more on the ethical and individualized approaches, and its applications go way beyond just autism. So in the early 20th century, behaviorism kind of hit that rise. It emphasized observable behavior rather than the psychology view on mentalistic states. And it gained a huge following. Pavlov came along and worked on classical conditioning. We all know about the dog that salivates when it hears a bell. Skinner came in and focused on that operant conditioning and how consequences influence behavior. So that's one of the huge things that we look at, and one of the things that we'll be talking about more as we kind of go and dive into this world of ABA. In the mid-20th century, there was a lot of research that was done, and we began applying these behavioral principles to humans rather than just rats and pigeons. There were a lot of early studies that focused on individuals with developmental disabilities. Lovaas came around in 1960 and started using ABA to develop interventions for kids with autism, and he focused so much on those language and social skills that are so important to our everyday life. Early ABA practices sometimes had some very questionable ethics, and so all of that kind of shaped and come together the more there was an evolve and expansion of the world of ABA. Lovaas's research led to the EIBI, an intensive clinical-based approach to ABA. There was some widespread recognition in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. ABA is now known as the golden standard for therapy for kids with autism. There was a huge focus on ethics and individualization. And then now with telehealth, we're able to work with kids all over. Even if there's not an analyst in the immediate area, living in a rural area, telehealth has been really important for us. And being able to serve kids all over. There's a continued evolution of ABA. And it's just continuously growing with more research coming out, and everything is getting individualized more. There's so much more data out there and more research coming forward. And so I'm really excited to kind of jump into this journey with you guys and learn about all things applied behavioral analysis as we drink our really nice cup of coffee. So welcome to Coffee and ABA, and I can't wait to share more with you in the future.